26 years ago this month, I surrendered my life to Christ, and that summer, I knew God was calling me to vocational ministry, but I was scared to say yes, so I said no, emphatically. And that is the premise of today's episode. So let's get to it. It was 1995. I was in Glorieta, New Mexico at a camp called Student Week, or it was actually an event at a camp called Student Week. And that week, God had called me into ministry. But like I said, I was scared, so I said no. I said no because I was scared that I would end up living abroad, eating bugs, and living in a grass hut without any running water or electricity. I know, it's superficial, but that was my reality. So instead of being passive, ignoring God like He didn't say anything, or explaining my feelings away as illogical, I simply said no. And in the same breath, I said, if I can say yes, God, to this, then I'll say yes to vocational ministry. In that moment, I had no idea if I would be a missionary or not. I was just afraid that God would force me into it. I thought ministry would be more like collegiate ministry in the States, not abroad. But I knew I could not do college ministry in the U.S. if I was unwilling to do global ministry. I mean, I needed to be willing to go anywhere and do anything the Lord led me to do, not create parameters for God to work within as if I have some right to demand anything from Him. A little hint, we don't. But here I was, saying no until I could say yes to my worst ministry fear. So for the next 4 years, God put two people into my life that guided and mentored me. Both were critical in my discipleship development, getting me to the point where I could say yes, even though they had no idea God was using them like that in the moment. So 4 years go by and I'm back in the same place at the same camp where I first heard the calling. That week, a guy named Dave Edwards was the keynote speaker every night. And for whatever reason that week, I sensed I was about to quit my job that I loved. Then on the last evening, while Dave was speaking, he transitioned into the altar call. But before he did it, he said something that perked my attention. He said, "When I speak, I normally do not do this." And then to me, it felt like this long pause. You know, maybe God was just slowing down time for me a bit, but regardless, I said to myself, whatever Dave's about to say, it's for me. You see, I had zero doubt, no matter what he was about to say, God was speaking through him to me. And then Dave said this, "I believe there is someone here who has been called into ministry and has been avoiding it, but it's time to say yes." I was stunned because I knew exactly what he was talking about. So the moment he opened up the altar, I jetted to the front. I was not wasting any time. But I still had no answers about my job, what surrendering to the ministry looked like for me, nor any desire to serve globally still. Yet here I am, 22 years later, doing what I thought I could never do, going to places I swore I would never visit, and with more friends outside the U.S. than inside. So the question is, what about you? Now, I'm not trying to convince you to do what I do, but I do want to ask you this. Are you willing to go anywhere God leads you? I mean, really go anywhere. Are you willing to do any ministry God leads you into? I'm not talking about building parameters and demanding or passively demanding that God work within those. You know, the kind that when we say, I have a family, so I can't do such and such ministry, or it's too dangerous to go there, or I don't have enough money. And these are just a few reasons people give for not totally surrendering every aspect of their life to God. Even after 22 years, I'm still finding areas in my life that I need to surrender that have probably prevented me from fully following Christ at times. And even while writing out this episode, areas where I struggle kept coming and rising to the surface. But the question still remains, are we willing to totally surrender our lives, our comfort, our resources, our time, our reputation, where we live, and so forth, so everyone has gospel access? Think about it, and I'll see you next time.